I want to welcome everybody here today. It's the middle of the week, and so we are touching base again. Today is Remembrance Day, and we wanted to mark this in a special and a more personal way by sharing a story from somebody who's familiar to many of you at Westview, and that's Marjorie Quinney. Marjorie, of course, was married to John. John very sadly passed away on December 10th of 2019, just this past year. We miss John. Marjorie, I'm sure you miss him every day. We wanted to have this chance to talk because, of course, John served in the Air Force. But there was a really cool story that we wanted to get to as well in a few minutes. But first of all, just Marjorie, welcome. Thanks for taking the time to talk with me. And so you and John were married for 70 years, and you just reminded me that that John's service with the Air Force was prior to you meeting. But did he share a lot of stories about his time in the Air Force?
Oh, tons of stories, but with the kids.
Okay.
He telling the children and the grandchildren.
Yeah.
Love to hear his stories. Yeah. Oh, yes.
He was quite a storyteller, wasn't he?
Right.
Yeah. And of course, with him being in the Air Force, he was in the bombing raids that went over Germany, and that was, he was in a very scary position. I'm sure that there were some harrowing moments for him,
Right.
but thankfully he came through all of that. And you got the chance to meet him, and tell us again how you were just sharing a little bit with me, but how did the two of you meet?
Well, his sister was a patient. His sister Margie was a patient at the hospital when I was in nurses training,
Right.
and she introduced us.
Okay. So she had an idea that the two of you might be good for each other.
Well, I'm not sure. maybe it was the uniform. I don't know.
Okay.
Mine.
Well, it seems like you really were good for each other, and it was always a delight to go and see the two of you, and to see the way that you honored each other. And I wanted a chance to talk because last year, John, of course, was struggling with his health, and he had a diagnosis of cancer, and then that very quickly turned into him being being considered a palliative patient. So he was being given comfort measures, but he really was trying to live life as much as he could in the midst of that.
He never stopped being John Quinney.
No, he didn't. He didn't. And it was a year ago, prior to Remembrance Day, that you had to call the ambulance.
Yeah. Well, actually, I called the paramedics.
Okay.
Because it was in the middle of the night and John fell.
Okay.
And so I called the paramedics. And so it was, two of them came. One was Dave Mills, who talked to John the whole time, getting to know John.
Okay.
And this is the story of Dave Mills, actually.
Okay. Okay.
Because he asked John if he served in the Air Force, if he served in the war.
Right.
And John said yes, in the Air Force. And Dave's grandfather also was in the Second World War.
Right.
John was on Mosquitoes, and the grandfather was on a Halifax, or one of those big. Anyhow, Dave's grandfather died a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the two of them talked and talked about the Remembrance Day coming up and the cenotaph. And Dave said, "I'll take you. I'll honor my grandfather by taking you."
Which is really quite incredible. I mean, here is a guy who's doing his job, but he was being so personal, and they obviously made a real connection with each other.
Right.
Yeah. So he wanted to honor his grandfather
by taking John to the cenotaph.
Okay.
Right. And he brought a a friend who'd been with the Air Force. He
Right.
said take two people to take the wheelchair out of the house, and they kept John in the van until it was time for the ceremony. And then they put him in the front row. They do that with the veterans from Parkwood,
Okay.
the ones on the bus.
Hmm.
They wait till the last minute or so, then put them in the front row, which I thought was really good for me to even learn that
Hmm.
part,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
So this was a new experience for you and for John as well.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I was safe at home.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, so they put John in the front row, and tell me a little bit about what happened, because there was more. They obviously had the remembrance service.
And,
Um,
well, it was snowing,
okay.
so Dave covered him with a thermal blanket,
Mm-hmm.
even.
Wow.
And but it was when John got home, he said so many people came and shook his hand.
Right.
He was just so honored that
Wow.
day.
Yeah.
It was a real honor for John to be there.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
had John been to previous
Well,
services at the cenotaph?
yeah, every year,
Every year.
but not in uniform or not,
Okay.
you know, just on the sidelines with the family.
Hmm.
I've been there with him
Hmm.
for family, just to be there, but never marched in the parade or anything.
Right.
Right.
And so this was the first time when people would have known that
Yes.
here is a veteran.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And they shook his head.
Wow. That's
So that
great.
was nice to know people honor people.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting because most of us here in Canada have no firsthand experience of war.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and I mean, we do have some who have either served in the armed forces, or some who have experienced war. I mean, certainly some of our refugees have experienced that kind of violence, so they have an appreciation for surviving it.
Right.
Um, but
But,
but for most of us, it's in our imagination what it would have been like to have served.
but
And
there are uh, military, I guess the word is, because it's not Army, Navy,
mhm,
uh, Air Force now, but they're serving now. They're
mhm,
serving now. I
yes,
think more appreciation of those who are serving now
yeah.
should be shown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because there isn't a war happening that Canada is engaged in, we
No.
are, our, yeah,
Yeah.
our
My
military are still serving.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Very very much. Yeah. Our neighbor's son is in the military and very active. Well, there's so much to do,
Yeah.
so many places to serve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say to those who are listening to this who are serving or have recently served in the military? What would you say to them?
Well, thank you for defending our
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I really love our national anthem because it says, God save our country, God save Canada, which not too many anthems have that asking God's
Yeah.
blessing on our country.
That's right. God keep our land. And we're
God keep
asking,
our land.
keep our land, guard our, it could also be worded guard our land, but we're asking him to be our defender. But
Right.
of course, there are there are people who actually do the physical work of it, but
Right.
ultimately it is in God's hands, and we are. It's a prayer. Our national
Yeah.
anthem is a prayer.
It's a prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And along those lines, it's a reminder. It shouldn't just be one day a year, but it
No.
is a reminder that we do need to be in prayer for our country, that it
Yeah.
be kept and guarded, but
Yeah.
also that we pray for those who are serving and really doing such hard and incredibly risky work
Yes.
to guard our freedom, and also, quite frankly, the freedom of people in other countries as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, I know John down through the years often shared with our youth group at the church. Um, and that was always a highlight for our youth group to meet John and others who had served. I think it made it a little bit more real, a little bit more tangible.
yes.
And so, you know, John's not with us, but we are still very grateful for the way that he was willing to share his story. And I'm really grateful today that you're willing to share this story, because it's just so wonderful that somebody out of the blue went beyond their job
Yes, certainly.
in in order to honor John
Yes, yes,
and to honor a grandfather who had passed.
right.
Just it's a reminder, it's a challenge really to all of us, I think,
Mhm.
to go out of our way and say thank you.
Yes, yes. Dave Mills went the extra mile.
He did. I'm glad you mentioned his name. If we ever happen to meet Dave Mills, we can thank him, because he
Right.
he really he really did such a great job of honoring John
Yeah.
and his
Yeah.
grandfather. So Marjorie, I'm going to say thank you for sharing this time with me, and just say to all of you who are listening, thanks for joining us in this conversation, and a reminder that we live in a land that needs God, where we do regularly, when we sing our anthem, we are praying to God to guard us, to keep us. And that's because for those of us who are followers of Jesus Christ, we know our need of God. Our life in Jesus Christ matters. So God bless you, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Thank you.